All right, now we're going to get notes on your second past tense number 2, also known as the imparfait or the imperfect tense. You've already learned one past tense, which is the passé composé. The passé composé has a helping verb, which is either avoir or être. Those are conjugated to match the subject, plus a past participle. Remember, for ER verbs, we drop the ER and add an E accent. For IR verbs, we drop the final R. And for RE verbs, we drop the RE and we add the U. That is the passé composé. But now we're moving on to the imparfait. The imparfait has a couple possible translations. I like to call it, if we were using the verb, it would be was verbing, used to verb, or just the verb by itself in the present or in the past tense. For example, je parlais. Je parlais can be translated I was speaking, I used to speak, or I spoke. The imparfait is used for continuous actions, something that lasts for a little period of time. Now, here's the important part. How do we form the imparfait? In order to form the imparfait, you need to start with the new form of the verb, the one that matches the pronoun nous. So if you're not clear on how to get the new form of the verb in the present tense, then you need to go back and review that. There are 2 other videos that discuss how to form the new form of the verb. Assuming you know that though, we start with the new form of the verb, the form that matches nous, and we get rid of the ONS ending. For example, if you had the verb parler in the new form, it's nous parlons, P-A-R-L-O-N-S. So you're going to drop the ONS ending, get rid of that ONS, and you're stuck with just P-A-R-L. Okay? Once you've done that, then you add the endings that match the imperfect tense, which are, for je, you drop that ONS and you add AIS. For tu, same thing. Drop the ONS, add AIS. For il, elle, and on, drop that ONS and add AIT. For nous, it's ions. Drop the ONS, add IONS. For vous, it's IEZ. Drop the ONS and add IEZ. And for il and elle plural, drop that ONS and add AIENT. So what does this look like? If you take a verb like chanter, which means to sing, you're going to take off the ER and add your ONS. The reason we're doing that is that's how we get to the new form. So we're trying to get to the new form of chanter. We end up with nous chantons. From the new form, we take off the ONS, and that leaves us with just chant, C-H-A-N-T. Then I'm going to add the endings that match the subject pronouns. Please listen carefully to the pronunciation of this. We've got je chantais, tu chantais, il chantait, elle chantait, on chantait. Nous chantions, that's the one people mess up the most often with that IONS ending. Vous chantiez, and il or elle chantait. Here are a few more examples. The sentence, we used to choose the colors. Nous choisissions les couleurs. Notice a lot of ISS in there. That's because the new form of choisir is nous choisissons. Take the ONS off of choisissons, we have choisis. Add an IONS on there, choisissions. Another example, vous finissiez vos devoirs. Okay, notice the IEZ ending. Again, we've got an extra ISS in here. Just as a quick way of explanation, because the IR verbs always mess people up. Choisir in the present tense, je choisis, IS. Remember those endings, IS, ISIT, ISSONS, ISSEZ, ISSENT? Well, here we go. This is present tense now. Je choisis, tu choisis, il choisit, nous choisissons, vous choisissez, il or elle choisissent. When I look at that new form, take off the ONS, and here's what I'm left with, choisissent. Okay? So in the imperfect, I'm getting je choisissais, tu choisissais, il choisissait, nous choisissions, vous choisissiez, il or elle choisissait. Couple more examples. The verb danser. The new form is dansons. If I take off the ONS, I end up with just danse. If I wanted to say you used to dance, I take my subject pronoun vous, the ending for that is iez, I add that onto my stem and I get vous dansiez. The verb avoir is irregular. Fortunately, it's not real irregular in the imparfait. Its new form is avant. I take off the ons and I have just av left. So if I have a sentence like you plural used to have, you plural still vous, my stem is av, I add my ions and I have vous, your iez because the subject is vous. You end up with vous aviez. And here's finir again, its new form finissant. Take off the ons and we're left with finis. Add a subject, you used to finish, vous. Add the ending that matches vous, finissiez. The nice thing about the imparfait is that there are not a lot of exceptions to the rule. Most irregular verbs are going to follow the same rule as any of the other verbs, which means that you're going to start off with the new form of the verb, take off the ons, and add the ending. For example, the verb avoir is av because its new form is avant, plus the ending. The verb faire, to do or to make, its new form is faisons, F-A-I-S-O-N-S. Take off the ons and we're left with F-A-I-S plus the imperfect ending. The verb voir, to see, its new form is voyons, V-O-Y-O-N-S. To get to the imperfect, we take off that ons, we're left with V-O-Y, add the imperfect ending. The verb aller means to go. Its new form is allons, A-L-L-O-N-S. Take off the ons, you're left with A-L-L, add the imperfect ending. The verb lire, which means to read, its new form is lisons, L-I-S-O-N-S. Take the ons off of the new form and we're left with L-I-S, and add your imperfect ending. Now we've got the verb prendre, the last one on this list. Its new form is prénom, P-R-E-N-O-N-S. Take the ons off, we're left with P-R-E-N, add the imperfect ending, and you're in the imperfect. This is all pretty easy. The only thing that could trip you up is if you don't happen to already have the new form memorized. If you don't know the new form of these verbs, you need to spend some time studying it. Again, the new form of avoir is avant, A-V-O-N-S. Take off the ons and you get A-V. The new form of faire is faisons, F-A-I-S-O-N-S. Take off the ons, you're left with F-A-I-S. The verb voir, new form is voyons. Take off the ons and you're left with V-O-Y. Aller, its new form is allons. Take off the ons and you're left with A-L-L. Lire, new form is lisons, L-I-S-O-N-S. Take off the ons and you're left with L-I-S. And the verb prendre is prénom. Take off the ons and you're left with P-R-E-N. There are others. These are just some of the most commonly used ones. Now, there is, of course, one verb that doesn't follow the rule. There's one exception to this rule, but only one, and it's an easy one. That's the verb être. Okay, être, as you know, means to be, and it's very irregular in French and in English. It does not follow the rule. Its new form is somme, S-O-M-M-E-S. It does not even end in an O-N-S, so there's no O-N-S to take off. Completely irregular. This one you just have to memorize. But it's easy. The imperfect stem for the verb être is simply two letters, E and T, with an accent over that first E. It's pronounced A. So all you need to know is that that's your stem and you add your endings on top of that. So what you end up with is j'étais, I was. Tu étais, you were. Il, elle, or on était. He, she, or one was or used to be. Nous étions, we were or we used to be. Vous étiez, you were or you used to be. Il or elle était, they were or they used to be. So again, those endings haven't changed at all. It's not extremely irregular. We're just not following the same rule for the stem. But that's a really easy one to remember.